What is going on, everybody? Quancredible here, bringing you the review for Eden Zero Chapter 131. Apologies that there was no Eden Zero review last week, but we are here this week with the Chapter 131. And in the beginning of this chapter, I thought it was really interesting. We got like to see Shura as like a kid, which I really wasn't expecting that. Ziggy notes to Poseidon that he's a kid of a different race, which see, I don't want to just assume that, because obviously Poseidon is some kind of, fish dude, like fish octopus man, whereas Shura appears to be human, but, what if it's not necessarily that simple and he's, some type of different type of humanoid being? Like, he's not just a regular human. And Ziggy's not just talking about, oh, he's different from you. That's kind of where I was thinking with it. But it is kind of interesting that, Shura did not really have an innate compatibility with Poseidon's, dice, not magic, but, dice ether. But he did have a compatibility with Ziggy's ether. To which in the present day he said he has a natural knack for it, and that he's the king of gravity. Well, self-proclaimed king of gravity. But this is kind of weird to me because he says they only taught him the basics, but this has to be different from Shiki, because this is the first thing I thought about. It's Ziggy teaching Shiki and Ziggy teaching Shura. Whereas I feel like with teaching Shura, he literally probably only taught him the basics before he had to leave, because I doubt he was just with him the entire time. I don't think he spent as much time with Shura as he did with Shiki. So I feel like it's reasonable to assume that Shiki might have more techniques than Shura, if that makes sense. I feel like Shiki has a more diverse arsenal because he might have learned more things, whereas Shura probably has maybe some weird off the wall, or not, I say off the wall in his gravity, that's kind of funny, but some type of weird non-conventional gravity ether attacks, whatever that could be, because I feel like the gravity ether is really unconventional as it is already. But I feel like he probably will use it in a way that will be really weird to Shiki. It might be off-putting to him, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at here, if you can understand. But yeah, I thought that I really liked the very beginning part of this, because I wasn't expecting to get this at all. And then immediately after this, when when Shura is kind of getting pumped up to fight against Ziggy or to hunt him down, he crushes the head of one of the Ocean Six with that was crazy to me, because I was like, oh my gosh, because me, I am squeamish of that kind of stuff when it's just a huge amount of violence in one burst. I'm like, whoa, I had to put my phone down for a second, because it was just a lot. He just crushed his head. So I was just like, yeah, that was a lot. But I mean, as far as his reasoning, he basically crushed his head because they're about to go fight the king of robots, so he says he doesn't want a robot on his side. Whereas scummy as that is, I get it, from a logical standpoint. I mean, if Shura's thinking about what happened on Forrester and how all the robots went crazy and haywire and stuff, then it would stand to reason that he probably wouldn't trust sending a robot. I feel like killing him was a bit much. He could have just left him behind, but Shura's a crazy dude, so it makes sense. But then we flash over to the Eden Zero crew, and they are in this VR training area, which is really cool. Essentially, Xenolith is going to be training Shiki as well as everybody else to just overall be more powerful, which is really interesting because I've wanted one of my favorite arcs in series is typically training arcs. Now, when they go a bit overboard, like My Hero and every other arc is a training arc, that kind of annoys me. But when they're splashed in here and there, I tend to enjoy them quite a lot. And I want to say this is the first one that we really are getting in Eden Zero. I don't really count the stuff with Xiaomei because she was it wasn't really training. She was just trying to get them to realize stuff. But this is a true training, or somewhat will be a true training arc, which would be kind of cool. I also think that it's incredibly interesting, the fact that they have technology that, even though they're in VR training, that it'll also apply for their real bodies. I think that that's really interesting. That's one of the things that makes this series really dope, the whole sci-fi thing. And that's that was just really cool to me. So basically, Xenolith is saying he has 7 days to train them before he goes under maintenance, because I guess that's just what he has to do for some reason. But which is explaining to us that the 7 days to them will feel like 35 days. So a little over a month. They got a month and some change essentially in the VR space to get stronger. So in this entire chapter, we don't really really get like a ton of them getting stronger, or we don't really get to know exactly what Xenolith has planned for them. I mean, we do get to hear about the whole like overcoming the bondage weakness of ether gears, which is something that I always thought was a weird weakness, like that if like whatever their ether gear is on, if it just gets wrapped up or something, then they can't use their abilities. I always thought that was kind of odd. So like we are going to potentially get to see a way to overcome that, as well as whatever else he's going to teach them, because I highly doubt the only thing he's going to do is physical training and and the bondage resistance training. I feel like there's going to be more to the training, and I'm also really interested. I mean, because obviously Shiki is the main character, or the main focus here on this, so he's going to get some cool techniques or something along those lines. But I'm really curious to know what Weiss is going to get, as well as Rebecca, because both of them are really interesting characters. Like obviously Homura is already really strong, and she kind of has a grip on like adjusting her ether gear to kind of fit what she needs and kind of get stronger in the moment, as well as there's kind of already a lot of places that she can go. I mean, she has a sword ether, so we kind of have an idea of where that's going already. So like we kind of already know. But Rebecca and Weiss are the interesting ones. Hopefully Weiss will either increase his reserves to where he can stay in Arsenal longer, or maybe he'll learn something else. And same thing for Rebecca. Hopefully she will be able to use her rewind power better, or something along those lines. My favorite addition to this chapter would obviously be Klein hopping in, and then her saying that basically that since they've done so much for her, she wants to be a member of the crew. And it was just really nice, because as I was saying, I've wanted her and Jin to be members for the longest time, because obviously if she joins, then by proxy they get Jin as well, which is my favorite character. So Jin and Klein officially part of the Eden Zero crew, because Shiki literally doesn't turn down anybody. Really a warming moment when he jumps in and Jin just like grabs his entire face and stops him. It was like it was a really funny moment, and we even get a nice like solid Jin smile. It was great. But the training does start, and it basically just consists of him just having them tied up while he just like pelts them with these like metal blocks in the face, like, and he's like repeatedly telling them to like use their powers to avoid it. So I'm assuming this is going to be like a trial by fire type thing, where he's just going to keep like putting them in some form of danger until they eventually just realize how to use their abilities while being tied up. It's just really funny, because he just keeps hitting Shiki in the face over and over again. I also think there was a funny moment that the training really doesn't serve any purpose for Jin, seeing as he can like detach his arms. So like because he's part cyborg, so if he ever gets tied up, he could just literally rocket his arms off and just untie himself. So I guess like he really doesn't need like training to resist this, because I guess since his ether gear, I'm assuming, is also in his arms, his arms can really never truly be bound, since he's part robot. And then after that, Xenolith like smacks Klein in the face with one of the things too, like one of the big cubes, and like Jin's really mad. Like there's just a lot of really funny moments in this chapter for me. But the absolute weirdest thing was the very end of the chapter, where like in the VR world, like Xenolith's face or his head turns into Ziggy, like Ziggy pops up. Now I'm not for sure what this could be. I'm not for sure if this could be a result of the virus on Forrester, like maybe Ziggy did somehow infect maybe Ziggy somehow did infect Xenolith while they were on Forrester. Potentially, like maybe even part of Ziggy was always in Xenolith. Maybe he's just now hacking into him now. I feel like that's probably the more likely one. Like it's just happening currently. But it's tough to say. I was hoping we get like some dialogue with it, but no, they just ended the chapter right there. And I'm just like, man, I really want to know what Ziggy is going to say or do, or Xenolith even still in there, or is this some big trick and Xenolith and it's just making Ziggy appear to kind of make everybody jolt into being serious. I'm very curious to know what's going to go on there. But yeah, that is the chapter. So like, it's like I said, I really just want to know what this whole Ziggy thing is about in the very end, as well as I'm very interested to see how Shura moves in the very upcoming future. Because I guess we're down to Ocean's member at this point. Like it was the Ocean 6. I'm assuming it's the Ocean's 5 now. But let me know how you guys feel about the chapter down below. Let me know if you guys are excited about Jin and Klein joining. I kind of want Lagna to join now too, or not Lagna, but Laguna to join also, just because he'll kind of fit in really well in my opinion. But we'll just have to see, because I want to say some stuff with him is definitely coming up. But yeah, like I said, let me know how you guys feel about the chapter down below. For me personally, I gave it like, it's the beginning of a training chapter, which I'm partial of, so I'll give it like 6.5, 7-ish, somewhere in between there for me. But make sure you guys like the video, as well as subscribe to the channel while you guys are here, and enjoy the rest of your guys' day, and I will see you all in my next video.